Okay, next we're looking at the acting against strategy for sadness. So, as we said in the introduction, every emotion carries with it an action urge. And so, the action urges for sadness is to isolate, to shut down, to cry, to feel like you're done, to want to give up. These are some of the action urges that come with sadness. Now, it does make sense to feel sadness when you've lost something or someone that you care about, when some goal or objective that you have that you see it isn't going to be realized, or if somebody that you care about's goal or objective isn't going to be met, you might feel sad about that too. And so there's times when it's completely justified, completely fits the facts for you to be sad in certain situations. In fact, there may be times when it's healthy for you to feel sad. Well, not maybe time. There definitely are times when it's healthy for you to feel sad. For example, when you're grieving. If people don't allow themselves to express their sadness, then actually it can become worse. It can turn into something that we call complex grief, which is where grief is suppressed, but then it begins to leak out in other ways. It might leak out in the form of anger. It might leak out in the form of substance abuse. It might leak out in the form of physical pain, somatic disorders, body pain. And when that happens, then those issues aren't the real issue. The real issue is suppressed grief. And so now you're dealing with, for example, a substance use disorder on top of grief. You got to get through the substance disorder in order to get to the grief. And hopefully, once the grief is expressed and worked through, it makes the substance use disorder much easier to treat because the underlying cause is taken away. And there's still perhaps a physical addiction to deal with, but, that's a bit of another story. So, point being, there are times when it's not only justified by the context to express sadness, but it's also effective to express sadness because even though it's an uncomfortable emotion, there's kind of no way around it. You have to process it and work through it in order to get to the other side of sadness where you're at a place of acceptance and an ability to move on to whatever life has for you in the future. Okay? So, yes, times when it's justified, times when it's effective to feel and express sadness, but there are also times when, even though it might fit the facts of your situation, for example, let's say a goal that you went for promotion at work and you didn't get it, okay? You feel sad and you just want to stay in bed all day the next day after you find out. But then the question is it effective for you to act on that action impulse that the sadness carries with it? And in that case of the work person who doesn't get their promotion, you might say no. Or let's say you get fired. It might make sense to be sad or grieve for a while, but probably not going to be a good strategy to just stay in bed for a month after that. At some point, you need to function. You need to get up. You need to go get your resume together, get some references together, start making some connections, start networking, start putting yourself out there, and hopefully eventually get a job again, right? So times when it makes sense, but you don't have the luxury of just, being sad 24/7 for a month. So you got to act against that sadness. You don't have to wait for the sadness to go away. You might be waiting a long time. You need to act your way out of the sadness, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so acting against strategies for sadness. Try to smile even just a little. We mentioned, the activating those facial smile muscles can send a message to your brain of happy, which can give you a lift in your mood. You can just get out and do something, see what happens. I remember having a friend back in college who would always come over to my house when I was bored and just say, hey, let's just go somewhere. And I'd say, where? There's nothing to do, nothing I want to do. And he'd be like, well, it doesn't matter what we do. Let's just go and something will happen. And so I'd usually go and something usually did happen and we'd wind up having a good time. So don't need any particular destination. Don't know what you're going to do or what's going to happen. Just get out and start moving and interacting and see what happens. Connecting with other people, same thing. Don't feel like going to the party, but you force yourself to go to the party and you wind up having a good time, or at least an okay time. At least it breaks up some of the monotony. Serve someone else. Great way to gain some perspective on your situation. I'll never forget, it had been a particularly hot summer in Austin, and I happened to be the pastor on call at our church. And I'd been sad and was a bit upset about things because my wife and I wanted to purchase something recently and didn't have the money for it. And so I was feeling a bit down about that. And then a woman came in who had been living in her car with her 14-year-old daughter, fleeing a domestic abuse situation, had been in the car for the entire summer, and it had been a record-breaking heat wave that summer of over a month of 100-degree Fahrenheit weather. And her ask from me was, do you have a place for my daughter to take a shower? School starts tomorrow, and I don't want her to smell when she goes to school. So that put things into perspective for me pretty quickly, and I was able to help them. I put them up in a hotel, gave them school supplies, did basically everything I could for them, and really quickly forgot about my own situation and was just feeling good to be able to help somebody else. So service really does help you get outside of yourself. Get perspective of other stories of other people who face similar challenges. So similar to my service story there, just now the tricky part is here, you don't want to invalidate your own sadness. There are times when other people have it much, much worse than you. It doesn't mean that what you're going through isn't hard or difficult. It is, but sometimes having some perspective can really help you to see, it could be a lot worse, and actually I do have a lot of things going for me that other people don't have. And then it does also put you in that service mindset of, is there a way that I can reach out and help somebody else? And then remembering the good times. Research shows that your brain can't tell the difference between something that you've actually done and and your imagination about something. And so same thing with memories. Just calling up those memories can bring you back to a good time, and that can just help you to feel good again as you recall those memories. And you can do the same with your imagination, just in EMDR therapy, which is a therapeutic technique, not a coaching technique. But you do an exercise called Safe Calm Place, where the person brings up a place that evokes a feeling of safety, of calm, of peace, of comfort. And you do some exercises to enhance that memory or that imagined place. And when they connect to it, it helps them calm down and helps them to recenter and reset. And the assignment is usually to practice going to your safe place. And you do a word association with the safe place. And just having that come up into your mind's eye can bring you back to an emotional baseline when you're really upset because you've been triggered by something. So no reason that kind of thing can't work when you're feeling sad. Remembering good times, or even remembering your own safe, calm place, can bring you back to a baseline. Doesn't fix everything, but it just helps you gain some emotional capacity so that you have resource to deal with whatever the situation is that's in front of you. Okay, so those are some acting against strategies for sadness, and in the next video we will look at acting against strategies for fear. So I will see you there.